Hello everyone, this is Professor DePaulo. Welcome back to Psych 265 Online Behavioral Research. So what we're going to do today and talk about is the last part of the paper, the rough draft of the manuscript, and this includes the title, the abstract, and the reference section. So if you go into Assignments tab in Blackboard, you'll see all the different parts of the paper or the manuscript here. We want the instructions for writing the title, abstract, and references. So I have written instructions, and then you'll have posted here the video instructions. And then you're going to submit your title, abstract, reference section as a PDF. Just one submission, not three, just one submission combined as a PDF file at this link. So let's talk about how to write the title, the abstract, and how to complete the references. It's not that difficult. The abstract's a little tricky, but everything else is pretty basic. So click on the instructions. And we're going to start with the title page. The title page should contain the title of the paper, the author's name, and the institutional affiliation. Now, once you come up with the title of your paper, not only do you put the title of your paper on the title page, that makes sense, but you also put the title of your paper at the beginning of the introduction. So in the rough draft, you may have wrote at the top of the page for the introduction, you wrote the word introduction, and I crossed them out in pretty much all your papers, and I said put the title of your manuscript here. So you don't need to use the word introduction in the introduction section. You're going to just put the title of the paper at the top of the introduction section. Okay? So let's just talk about the title page first. The title page consists of the title, which should be no more than 12 words in length. And it should not contain abbreviations, and it should convey the meaning of the paper, of the research. And that can include the variables being studied, like the independent variables and the dependent variable. It's basically just, to give an idea to the reader what the general idea of the manuscript is. Okay? Shouldn't be too long, shouldn't be too short. You'll have something called the running head, which is a shortened version of the title at the top. Okay, and I'll show you how to do this. Then you'll have your title, you'll have your name and your institutional affiliation, and all of this should be double spaced. So to come up with a title, you want to convey the meaning of the paper, and there's no right or wrong answer per se. There's better titles and worse titles. So what we were studying in our class study was the correlation or the influence of psychological traits with COVID-19 compliance. So if I wanted to write a title, I could say something like, and obviously don't put the title at the very top, kind of put it in the, more towards the center of the paper. Psychological, well, I spelled that wrong, of course. Correlates of, spelled of wrong, COVID-19 compliance. That would be a very general title that I could come up with. Now, I don't want you to use this exact title. So don't just copy and paste or write down exactly what I wrote. Write down your own title. It should be less than 12 words, but it should convey the meaning of the paper. The paper looked at certain variables, psychological variables, behaviors, traits that were associated with social distancing, vaccination, and these other compliance behavior. So this is kind of what I came up with, and I want to center it like that. Then double space it, of course. Put your name. Obviously, don't copy my name. And your affiliation, Borough of Manhattan Community College. You don't have to write City University of New York, but if you want to write below that City University of New York, it's fine. Okay, and that is in the middle of the paper, centered. Should be 12 point font. I have it as 11. Let me change it to 12, something like that. That looks good. If I want to move it down a little bit, it's fine. Just make sure it's not too far up the top of the paper. Now, in the header, right, you're going to have the running head. So you're going to type out the words running head, colon, just like that. The R is capital in running, but the H is not capitalized. Nothing else is capitalized. So just the words running head. And then take the first couple of words of your title. And I'm going to take psychological correlates. I spelled it wrong again. It's because I do not type very well. Typing is my weakness, one of my many weaknesses. Psychological correlates. So make sure that this running head is in all caps. Okay. On the title page, you're going to, in the top margin, the header, you're going to write the words running head, colon, and then the first couple of words of your title, you're going to put in all capitals like the psychological correlates. Okay. Now, this only occurs on the title page. On every other page, you're going to write psychological correlates without the words running head. So the words running head only occur on the title page. On every other page of the manuscript, you're going to write the short title, which is what comes after this colon. You're going to write psychological correlates or whatever title you have, whatever short title you came up with. And then your page number will be in the top right-hand corner. And the title page is page number 1. And that's it for the title page. So you're going to have to put psychological correlates as the short title on every subsequent page without the words running head. And you're going to put the page number 1 here and then keep going up to as far as many pages as you have. And this title right here will go at the top of the introduction. So do not write the word introduction. Replace the word introduction with this title that you've written. And like I said, do not give me the title that I'm giving you in this walkthrough. Come up with your own title. If you just copy and paste this, I'm going to say they didn't even bother trying to come up with their own title. They're just copy and pasting what I'm doing. I'm not going to be too happy about that. So please come up with your own title. And obviously, if you put my name in it, I'm going to be even more unhappy with you. So make sure you have your own name there also. So pretty basic stuff. That's the easy part. That should take you 5-10 minutes. So once you've done that, we're going to go back and look at the more difficult parts. So the more difficult parts are the abstract. The abstract is actually pretty tricky to write. It's not long, but it's got to summarize the entire manuscript, and it should be between 150 and 200 words in length. That's not much to summarize the entire paper, the entire manuscript in 150 to 200 words. And different journals will have different word limits. So if you submit your manuscript to a particular journal, you will check with the editors exactly how long the abstract should be. But most abstracts are about 150 words. 150 words is a little bit more than half a page, double spaced. So it's not very long, and it's kind of hard to condense it all. So the way I formatted this, I would like you to follow these directions. The first 2 or 3 sentences of your abstract should be about the purpose or main objective of the research study. So that should be from your introduction, the beginning of your introduction. That's the purpose and the main objective of the study we're doing, right? That's 2 to 3 sentences. Then after that, a brief description of the methodology, 1 or 2 sentences. So take that method section and summarize it in 1 or 2 sentences. The results and the findings of the studies, once again, 1 or 2 sentences. Do not include the statistics. You do not want to put the statistics in the abstract. Just the general results. And in our study, we didn't really have any significant results, so it's pretty easy to write that there, all 5 hypotheses were not significant. And then the summary of the conclusions of the study, 1 to 2 sentences. That last part, the summary and conclusion, is based off of the discussion. So as you can see here, the first 2 or 3 sentences is based off the introduction. The next 1 to 2 sentences is based off the method. The next 1 to 2 sentences is based off of kind of the results without the data, without the actual statistics. And the last 1 to 2 sentences is based off your discussion. And that's it. It's just a paragraph. You can double space it so that I can comment on it. There's really not much in terms of results to talk about, but there's more stuff that you can talk about in terms of the conclusion of the study, especially the limitations and things that might be done in the future. That stuff is from your discussion section. And I give you a sample abstract here. The effect of job stress on clinical health outcomes. Approximately 15 to 25% of the U.S. working population is classified as high risk for job stress. This type of stress is known to exert a psychological toll on workers. However, less is known about the impact of job stress on physical health and how current findings translate to clinically relevant outcomes in everyday life, such as susceptibility to the common cold. This is all from the introduction, these first 3 sentences. What is the problem? Why is it important? That stuff is from the introduction. Now it continues in an ongoing daily diary study. 68 adults, 37 females, completed measures of job stress and upper respiratory infection, URI symptoms, every day for 8 weeks. That's the method. Preliminary analyses show that males who had busier days at work on average also endorsed a greater number of total URI symptoms. Additionally, males who reported lower perceived job security and less supervisor support were sick with upper respiratory infections on more days across the study than were those with greater job security and supervisor support. Among females, endorsing more busy days, whether at work or home, was associated with greater endorsement of URI symptoms. These sentences summarize the results. Now, in our current study we did as a class, we do not have significant results, so you won't have to write much here. If you had significant results, though, you'd need to write more. You need to explain that. We did not have those significant results, so you can just write that there was no association between empathy and vaccination and social distancing, and there was no difference in attachment styles. I mean, in terms of, so basically give a 1 or 2 sentence summary, just basically saying that there's no correlations and no effects regarding the hypotheses we studied. There's not much to really say there. And then the last sentence or two will be a conclusion about the study. The findings expand our understanding of links between job stress and immune functioning by elucidating effects on a clinically relevant health outcome. So that's the conclusion of the study. You can write 1 or 2 sentences concluding the study, and most of it will be based on, due to limitations in our study, that future research should focus on these things, and the stuff you're talking about in the discussion. Unfortunately, we had a very small sample, and we did not find significant effects. So in reality, as a researcher, I would not publish a study like we did as a class, because there's nothing significant to really talk about, and it would most likely get rejected. But we're learning this whole process, so it's okay to write up, results that were not significant, that were not really interesting, that didn't support our hypotheses. But in terms of publishing it, you probably would not publish a study like we did where we had no significant results. What I would do is run more subjects, get more participants, and then get significant results, because if I increase participants, I increase statistical power, and I can more easily reject the null hypothesis, correctly reject the null hypothesis, which is power. The probability of correctly rejecting the null hypothesis. And that's a statistical thing that you don't have to worry about, but that's important as far as doing research. You want to run a study that has adequate statistical power, because if you don't have enough statistical power, the results could be there, your hypotheses could be supported in the general population, but you won't find it in your sample, because your sample is pretty much too small. And our sample was ridiculously small, and therefore, it's not a great way to test a hypothesis with a really small sample. Sample size is very important. You want to run at least, at minimum, 100, 150, 200 participants. With surveys, some people run 5,000 people with surveys. If you had 5,000 people in our study, we would probably have significant results. I'm not saying you need 5,000, but if you had a lot more than what we had, and we had 20, 23, right? That's not enough. But as we're learning this, it's okay because we're not looking for this to be significant. We're looking to learn how to write up a study. It's not that interesting because we don't have results, but we're still learning the process. And that's how you write the abstract. And this is tricky. This is not easy. And I don't expect you to write dynamite abstracts as a rough draft. I expect you to make a good effort and learn from your mistakes. I will write comments and then you will adjust. You will adapt to those comments and then revise for the final paper. So that's abstract. The reference section is your typical reference section that you've written in many papers. And I give you some instructions here how to format things, and you can look through these instructions, they're fine. You're mostly using journal articles, so you're not really using print books, you're using journals in print and journals online, and these are the formats. However, there's a very easy way to do this. So the easiest way to do this is to go to Google Scholar. Once again, Google Scholar is very helpful for these things. Click on Google Scholar. Now search up your articles. So let's say you had an article on role of empathy. Just enter your article title here. Whatever article you're using in the introduction, write out the title into this box, search box. Since I don't have a particular title name, I'm just going to write role of empathy in vaccination. And we should write COVID-19 because I don't want flu vaccination. Okay, and there's so many of these different articles. I don't know what articles you used, but type in the exact title of your article and you'll find the exact article here. Let's say I used, mm, let's say I used one of these here, results. Could be any of these. I'll just pick the first one here. So I don't know what this journal is. It doesn't matter. But let's say I use this article, theoretically. You would just type your article title up here and hit search. Since I don't have an article title because I haven't written the introduction, I'm just going to go with this as an example. So if this is the article that you used, the journal article you used, or the book that you used, most of you are using journal articles, you want to go to this little quotation thing. It says cite. Click on it, and then find APA, which is the second one here. And you would just copy this, go into your Word document. Let's say I make my reference page. So I have an abstract here. So I write the word abstract, whatever. You write your abstract out there. And then on the next page, you can write references. And remember, get rid of running head here. On the subsequent pages, the words running head only go on the first page. So let's say you have references here. And then you just paste it in like that. Now, when you're submitting these references, the second and subsequent lines need to be indented. So just make sure the second and subsequent line is indented. And you may need to copy and paste or cut and paste like that. And you're done. And make sure the reference page is in alphabetical order. The reference page should be in alphabetical order. Okay, so let's go back to Okay. And that's it. So get your references. You can go to Google Scholar or whatever you use, Citation Machine. If you use, what are the other ones? There's a whole bunch of different citation makers. There's very expensive ones and there's free ones. I'm not sure if you use any of those. I sometimes use some of them, but it's easier just to go into Google Scholar and put the title in and then copy and paste it like this. You see how the journal here, the proceedings. So this is from a conference. See how that's in italics like that? And this is the issue, the volume number, and this is the issue number in parentheses. And if you had like a journal, you'd have page numbers after this. This is a conference, so there's no page numbers listed because it's a presentation at a conference or paper presented at a conference. But make sure this is in alphabetical order by author last name. It's got to be in alphabetical order by last name here, like corn. And that's it. And that's your reference page. So you're going to have your title page, your abstract page, and your reference page. And then when you're done with that, you're going to save it as a PDF and to uh, submit it to Blackboard. And it's as simple as that. So it shouldn't take you long to do the title page, to do the reference page, um, and then you just want to move on to the abstract, which is a little bit more work. Let me show. Let's see if I can find a good reference page here to show you what a good reference page looks like. Look at all these references. Wow, it's crazy. So look at all these references. Now the references should be centered, but different journals do it differently. But you should have your the word references centered, not bolded, just in plain text centered, not bold. Like I said, every journal is different, but I'm just giving you a standard way to do it. And look how it's in alphabetical order by author last name. I kind of like everything double spaced because I can read it better. And then obviously indent the second and subsequent line because in this article, everything is just block all crushed together. You can't even read it. So certain journals will accept it like this. Other journals will be more particular. But I think if you get used to writing it the way the APA guides tell you to write it, you're not going to have problems with editors getting angry or reviewers saying, "Oh, well, how about your reference page?" So do it the way I'm telling you to do it, and you should be fine. But you see a many references. So most manuscripts are going to have tons and tons of references. This has multiple pages of references. And obviously we don't have that. You should have at least 5 though, because you need a minimum of 5 for the introduction. So you should have a minimum of 5 references in your reference page. And that's it. The abstract should take you a little bit longer. The reference and title page shouldn't take you that long. And then save it as a PDF, submit it. I'll give you feedback, and then you will work on revising, or you'll work on revising, I'll work on grading your revised manuscripts. And if you have any questions, let me know. Happy to help you.